What's going on YouTube, and welcome to episode 5 of the U.S.S. Cerritos tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in to today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And today we have about a 31-minute video, and I'm really excited. Today is actually the first episode that I'm going to be streaming the commentary live for this recording. And you can follow me now on twitch.tv/Zero Elite, just like it's spelled on my YouTube channel, ZEROE, the number 1 ITE. And anytime I have new recording sessions, I'm going to be streaming that as well. We're going to be jumping right in where we left off um, as far as what we were working on with the tutorial. We're adding in some extra layering, working on the pylons. We're going to be shifting gears back into the upper hull, and we're going to be moving our yellow line over a couple of blocks. We're actually going to be moving it over by 4. So we're going to do this on the left side, and then we're going to hop over to the right side and repeat the exact same process. So let's go ahead and bang that out real quick. And of course, we're using yellow concrete blocks. Right now I'm trying to get a gauge for how much more I need to move this over. We're going to be doing it right off of this cut line right here. Let's go over to the right side and let's do the same thing, so this way we get our placement right. It's going to be going right there. Perfect, all right. So now we started our angle here. I'm using this as the gray. Because what we're going to end up doing actually is we're over by 3, but we're actually going to shift over 2 more. So to make sure we get our placement right, let's just go ahead and build this slanted line going all the way back. We're going to bring this back to our first inner ring, and then we're going to stop. Then we're going to go over to the right side of the ship, and then we're going to repeat the same process. Because it takes just a little bit to get the finagling on this right, the alignment, but I mean, that just happens sometimes when you're building a ship from scratch, completely from scratch. The only thing we're using for this tutorial, while I was building it, looking at different screenshots of the ship that I found during season 1 of Lower Decks, as well as a 3D model, which you can check out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com youtube.com/C/Zero Elite. And you can definitely check out the first couple episodes of my Cerritos build if you're interested in that. So now we did the left side of our ship. We're going to be hopping over to the right side because I always have this rule that if you repeat one thing on one side and it's supposed to be that same way on the other side, we want to repeat that same process just to keep this consistent. You can see I'm going at a perfect slant and deleting the access, and now we're going up 1 now with the hull. We've crossed our first inner ring, so we want to make sure that we go up 1 to match the new hull level. So far, so good. The only problem is now we're hitting the strut on the pylons, but that's okay. We're going to slightly shift them up a little bit. And make sure that we maintain that cut line and it's perfectly going at an angle, otherwise we'll have some problems later on. That's why I'm just zooming down to the underside of that, double check to make sure that lines up. And now perfect, we're going to stop at our yellow ring. So we're looking good. We're going to finish our row on the left side, and then we're going to shift over our yellow line. Now, if you really wanted to save yourself time, you could have just gone over 6 rows from our original yellow line to build the new one. But just to double check and make sure that the spacing is right, I'm doing it in this order, just because that's just kind of how it lined up. I was kind of thinking at this point that I might be swapping this gray line out for the yellow one, but as I zoomed around it and looked at it, I just decided that I needed maybe 1 or 2 more over to widen that up. Definitely want to make sure that we do this gray line on both the left and right side. Because we're trying to kind of form out this area of the ship right here, which on the Cerritos, it definitely has a distinctive look on it. And all this is definitely kind of like a puzzle right now. So I want to go back just a little bit there. I did that just ever so slightly fast. Because I think I'm going to be moving this inner line here over a little bit. So let's zoom around. So you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to do a slant going in. This is towards the center back end. We're not going to bring this all the way back, literally just up to this gray circle, or the part of the circle. And perfect's going to go right there. Because we need to have we're trying to space it out because the shuttle bay, the Cerritos has 2, and the shuttle bay is actually, one's going to go here, and then another one's going to go on the other side. When we build the shuttle bay out, I'll pull up the screenshots for that, but I found those screenshots from Trek Yards, and that is definitely going to help me in getting this ship to be a little bit more accurate. Now this line that we're at, we went past our gray circle, so everything past that, actually not going to need that. Um, I got a little overzealous at this point. I was just building away, but we're not going to need this line, so we can actually get rid of it past the circle here, because you won't see it. We're only going to see it up to this point right here. So I'm going to fast forward just a little bit until we get caught up. So I brought my line all the way up to here, but you only need to bring yours up to right there, because like I said, everything past this is all going to be gray in here anyway. So I'll never see that actual line there. So now from our next gray line that's out from the yellow, we're going to go 2 over, or actually 1 over. Yeah, no, 2 over. Perfect. So 1 gap in the middle. And now we're going to bring this going all the way back at a perfect slant. And you're probably thinking to yourself right now, this is starting to get a little complicated. Don't worry, I got you. We will get through this together. I'm pretty confident we should be able to get through the rest of this no problem. It's just a matter of layering out some of the stuff and getting the positioning of it right. Sometimes you just won't get it perfect on the first attempt, and that's just really what ended up happening here. As I was had completed this the other night, well, not the other night, but a couple weeks ago when I had actually captured it. But after I had completed it, I went back and I was looking at screenshots. I was like, man, I don't think I had that yellow line over as far as it needs to go. So I just made the decision just to go ahead and do it, just because the OCD was going to kick in. So might as well take care of it now rather than later. Unfortunately, there's no way else other than to do this other than to wing it. I do get asked this question all the time if I have any blueprints for this build, and I wish I did. It would make this tutorial go a lot faster, but unfortunately, building this thing from scratch. I don't think anybody's actually built the Cerritos on Minecraft yet. I'm pretty sure I might actually be the first one to do it. Um, the outside of the ship has actually already been completed, and if you were just catching me off of Twitch, definitely check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/Zero Elite. Episode 1 of the Cerritos tutorial has a brief sneak peek of the completed exterior. However, I don't show any of the interior yet. I have begun working on it though, and when we get into that portion, I'll be doing a live stream of that as well as the rest of this tutorial. Um, and when I start doing more captures on the interior, I'm going to live stream that also. So definitely check out my Twitch because that's going to be very active going forward. Every time I do any type of captures, I'm going to try to do a live stream as well if I can help it. Unless I'm just not physically able to talk, that will be the only time that you won't see me do a live stream. Um, so if there's any stuff that you would like to see me build on my YouTube channel or Twitch, drop a comment below. Definitely would love to hear from you. And if you're enjoying this, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. But if you are looking to get into shipbuilding, this is definitely the channel for you because there's a lot of tutorials that I have coming on the YouTube channel in the future. I've already completed tutorials on the Discovery Enterprise, seen in Star Trek Discovery, as well as the Enterprise D mock tutorial, and I also have a mock tutorial of a smaller Enterprise A. And after we're done with the Cerritos, we're going to be working on the Enterprise D. So that's going to be a really fun build. Definitely looking forward to that. And getting back into what we got going on here, I messed up that line there. So now our slanted yellow line, the inner one, our original one, we're going to get rid of that. I want to make sure that we don't delete the actual yellow circle, but just the inner slant. And you see that it's got a couple of rows on it because we were layering it before, so we're going to get rid of those layers. But again, taking care, don't want to delete the circle. All right, looking good. So we're going to do the same thing on the right side now. Just repeating that same process. If we do one thing on one side, we're going to do it on the other just to keep it consistent. This is also going to help us from stopping us from making mistakes in the future while we're doing this build. And somebody asked me the other day why I'm not just filling in the hull on the ship, and that's just because I like to prep out a lot of my the lines on the ship because that's going to help you down the road in layering. When you're adding your different layers onto your ship and you're trying to turn it into a 3D object from your wireframe. Um, I especially will try to get my circles done in the beginning because I do like to use a pixel circle generator. It just comes out way more accurate, but it is a very lengthy process. So I try to do that first in the beginning of the build. So this way, by the time we get to the end of it, the only thing I really have to do at that point is just wing it. We're taking out a row from this underside here from our original gray line that we had before. Just taking out one row. And where we had that white pillar that I just brought down, originally there was that yellow pillar there just a moment ago, so we're just replacing it with a white one. It's not something that we're necessarily going to need for the build, but I'm going to have it there as a marker when we're doing the interior. And now we're just going to get rid of our original line, slant going back at an angle, making sure that we're not deleting our ring. We're actually going to have to slightly edit that to make that connect there, but we can blend that in to make it look nice and pretty. And a couple of these blocks here, and then the line going past the gray ring, we can delete that. But we'll get there once we start filling it in. A couple of these lines will be extra, but you'll get that. When you're doing, especially when you're doing a ship for the first time, you're going to have a couple of lines left over that you may not need. And that's just was the case here because, you know, kind of just overestimated, or I should say underestimated the size that it needed to be. So might as well get it out of the way now. But I think making this change is going to be much more in proportion with where the ship needs to be, and it's going to help it look that much nicer when it's done. We're definitely rocking and rolling here. We're already at 15 minutes in. We have about another 15 minutes to go for the rest of this stream and this episode. And we're going to bring that pillar down all the way, just like we had on the left side. Looking good. Make sure not to delete the ring. And you should have something that looks just like that. Really doesn't seem like it, but she's starting to come together. So now we're going to go to our pylon struts that are sticking out from the top of the engine. Let's clean that line up with the blue, make that gray line perfect. And really, we're going to make it stop right at the yellow line for now. Might move it up one or two just to space it out. But it doesn't have to be perfect because you have to consider one thing, that we're not going to see it completely matching up from the lower hull. So there's really going to be no way to know that it's a couple of short. I think we can definitely get away with it rather than restructuring the length of the pylons to make it perfectly match. This is an easy little cheat. Oh, I made a tiny little boo-boo there. Let's fix that real quick. All right, we're in good shape. And we're going to get rid of this line here because this is within the two gray strut lines, so we're not going to see this line here. So let's get rid of this back one. All right, so I did that on the left side, so let's go over to the right side now. And we're going to do the same thing. This row right here to the right of the line, we're going to get rid of that. And this was some stuff that I could have skipped over, but then it would have just been sitting on your build. So I felt that was definitely necessary to include this in the tutorial today, even though it's kind of slowing us down a little bit. But we're really going to start rocking and rolling here because, believe it or not, a lot of our prep work has been done for the saucer. Um, a lot of our hull lines have already been mapped out, and we're really approaching the point where we're going to start filling stuff in here very shortly. Let's get rid of that access line. We're going to complete our line right here. Want that to match up perfectly. You also want to make sure that the left side, or excuse me, I should say the right side, matches as well. Probably could get away with deleting that right there, so this way there's a nice cut. Let's do the same thing on the left side. Yeah, that block right there. That looks good. Nice and clean. Because we're not ready to add another row on our yellow line yet. We're going to thicken it up. We'll just add one more row, but we're going to do that in a later episode. In a few moments, we're going to be heading down to the lower hull and working on some stuff. So our outer gray line, we're going to be moving it down to the lower hull now. So you can say it started from the back corner all the way at the tip of the saucer, just to start it. We're going to do the same thing for both corners. We'll do the same thing for the left one and the right one, because now we're going to start to shape the lower hull a little bit more. It's one of the last couple of things we're going to have to do here before we close it in. So you can see here the way that it goes straight in, and then it has that little piece there in the front. This is really the only piece that we haven't made right here, but that's okay. We've already mapped it out on the top row. We just got to transition it down now to the bottom. All right, let's head back over to the stream. And that extra gray line now, anything past that gray part of the circle in the back, we're just going to get rid of that now. We only really need the back piece of it. So now anything past this line right here going in, we're going to delete that too. Because I got overzealous earlier and just decided to build away, even though I don't really need it. I wasn't thinking. But that will definitely happen to you if you just don't really think about it. You can easily make a mistake without even trying to, which is what happened to me right there. But that's okay. Easy fix. So now we're in the inner angled line. We're only going to bring this up to the dark gray ring, and then we're going to stop. You see right there. Then we're looking good. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side, and then we're going to do the outer one. Because when we start filling stuff in, this is going to be a marker for where our hull needs to cut down, and then also where the color transition is going to happen. Because this inner part here will be a gray color, where the outer part will be that white cream concrete that we used for the blocks. I'm going to bring that one down by one. All right, we're looking pretty good. Now let's do the outer angled line for the under half. So I'll have about 8 minutes left to go. And basically what I'm noticing here is that if I do this line the same width as the upper, it's going to cut into the pylon. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do to get around this. I could just build this out for right now, and I can do either one of two things. I could just leave it as is, or I can slightly move the pylon forward ever so slightly, which really wouldn't be that big of a deal. We would just have to add a couple of rows on the back end on both sides of the cut of the pylon. But it may not come to that. We'll cross that bridge once we get there. Right now, let's just worry about bringing this angled line all the way towards the center until we reach our next gray line towards the center. We're just going to bring it all the way in. Actually need to go down one more because we passed our first inner ring on the lower side, so we need to make sure that we transition down with that. So let's bring this down by one row. Let's get rid of that. And then we're going to get rid of this axis because we don't need it. We're only going to do that up until we get to our first inner ring, which is right there. We're in good shape. And now we're going to continue on, making sure to delete the axis as we go. I made a little boo-boo there. Let's fix that real quick. And I did the same thing again. How about that? It's all good. So we're going to pass this yellow ring here. We're going to keep on cruising. We're actually going to have to redo the underside ring. I typically would have already have done that, but at this point in the build, I had already gotten all the circling done, and I wasn't looking forward to doing it again. Because I will say that is my least favorite thing to do when I make these ships using the pixel circle generator. I do it just to keep it as accurate as I can, but it is my least favorite thing to use because it has a lot less freedom in it. But at the same time, it's a necessary evil to have because without it, it's practically impossible to make a perfect circle when you start getting on a large scale. If you can do it, then you're a much better builder than I am because I definitely cannot. But in the next couple episodes, we are going to go down and redo that ring. Now, getting back in a little bit what I got going on here, I'm transitioning down again with our first inner ring. Now we're just going to bring that all the way into the center, just like on the other side. No, but yeah, the inner yellow ring on the underside of the saucer, I actually have to make it a little bit bigger because that was just again, I was looking at the 3D model, I was looking at it from different angles, and I was looking at my build progress to see how it was matching up, and I just noticed that that ring was just too darn small on the bottom side because I just doubled it from the top, and the top side was right, but when you transition down to the bottom from the actual Cerritos, that yellow line is actually that yellow circle is actually much bigger. But that's okay. We can definitely fix that, and we'll get into that for sure. And I can already tell we're gonna have to slightly rework a couple of things on our lower hull, but only in the dead center of it, just to get it to match up with our new line here. I need to bring that over by one. There we go. Let's see, that's how you line that up. We got a couple more to do. All right, and we're looking good. Yeah, we're gonna have to rework this in the front here to make. We're gonna have to pull this out now a little bit. This piece right here, we basically have to rebuild that. So the easiest way to do that now is just from the same row. We counted that out. And now we're just going to rebuild it. So this way we don't have to do anything super crazy trying to figure out what the design is going to be because what we had here already looked pretty good. So now it's going in, we'll do a cut in and then build out 3. Do the same thing on the other side, of course. And then the next is 2. And then we go back to 3. That's actually 2. So I'm counting that extra one from the curve there. And then this one was do straight across. And we can delete that axis there in the middle. Want to be careful here, making sure that we're not deleting any of the line that we just built. We're not going to need that pillar anymore. We can just get rid of it. Now let's clean this up on this side. And that's going to wrap us up today. All right, let's zoom out and take a look. She's looking pretty good. We got a couple adjustments we got to make with the pylon, and then we got to redo our yellow ring here. But our lower side of our hull on the saucer is looking pretty darn good. Definitely had a lot of prep work in this episode, but you have to think that this prep work is saving us time down the road. So this way, when we get to the point where we start adding in blocks, the clothes and the hull, we're really going to start rocking and rolling here. We've gotten a tremendous amount of work done in a really short period of time. I'm very happy with the progress that I'm making on this build. And before you know it, we'll be done with this thing and then moving on to other builds. You can already see by the look of the pylons here, it's got that nice um, profile on the Cerritos. You know, it's kind of leaning forward. I really like that look on it. Kind of has like an aggressive look to it, even though it's not a battle cruiser or anything like that. Yeah, we're making some steady progress. Very happy with that. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. Everybody that tuned in on YouTube and Twitch. Um, can't tell you how much I appreciate it. If you can help me out by hitting that like and subscribe button, I definitely appreciate it. And if you did enjoy this episode, in fact, you can always catch new Minecraft episodes on my YouTube channel Tuesdays through Thursday, or excuse me, Tuesdays through Fridays. And you can also catch that on my Twitch channel now as well. And you can also catch new Starship Evo builds on Mondays. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.